Hey there, I'm Mark from Spectrum Pulse, and today we have from Brandi Carlile, Returning to Myself. Okay, I didn't initially plan to cover two of the Highwomen back to back, but I guess it's how it all worked out. And truthfully, I could have covered Brandi Carlile much sooner this year if I wanted to. Now, that was tied to a collab album she made with Elton John and was produced by Watt of all people. It's fine, it's very clearly in legacy act territory for Elton John. A very agreeable but competently safe throwback if that's your thing. But it was a sign of Carlile's connections that she could pull that together and have it perform decently well commercially. And for this, bringing in a combination of Watt again, multiple members of the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Aaron Dessner of The National, and Justin Vernon of Bon Iver. Well, if I knew Carlile, we could well be getting some real folklore here. All jokes and references aside, I've come to really like a lot of her output, including that excellent 2021 album In These Silent Days, and thus for this album, well, it's odd because it feels considerably more consistent sonically, but the impact is muted, playing it safer than the true high points where she swung for the fences on the last two albums with Dave Cobb. Now, an observation I made a couple of years back, while Carlile's writing and delivery has only evolved, her production can occasionally feel like a product of its time, for better or for worse. And while Dave Cobb is still one of the best producers in our time, my first lingering thought is that Brandi Carlile's huge, expressive voice could absolutely use a more lush and saturated mix than Aaron Dessner or Justin Vernon were going to provide, with the soft focused keys and the padded percussion and the occasional electronic warble. And that can work for the softer ballads like with the gauzy overdubs on A Woman Overseas or the 70s-esque multi-tracking of Anniversary, but when the electric guitars get caught up in the churn, they don't have anything close to the meat they really should to go hard, glaring straight at human here. Now, Watt is pretty solid for adding more misty, reverb-touched expanse around the guitars. He might actually be better than the other two here. I'll give him more credit for the smoked-out new wave righteous fury driving Church and State that can actually match Carlile's volume with a rollick that almost reminded me of a flock of seagulls in the guitar, or how the country tones drive a pretty solid crescendo on No One Knows Us, or the long-haunted outro of A Long Goodbye. But Watt's uneven command of some fine details can leave some dicey vocal masters, and can also create the husky You Without Me muffling its more ramshackle organic side. That's the only song where he's a solo producer, and it's probably the weakest track here. But the larger issue might be compositional. When this album is screaming out for louder, more driving songs, it's hard to avoid the thought that Carlile has settled into safer, softer tones than for going for broke, especially when you look at the lyrics and the writing. Hell, Joni has that in both text and metatext, where Carlile marvels at the elder stateswoman who is that wild artist and leaves her feeling a bit tame. You'd think she would do a bit more with that sentiment across the album. After all, she also co-produced every song here. Now, that's not saying Carlile's writing is bad, far from it. You can tell she's trying to keep herself more in balance in musings on getting older and a longer relationship, circling inwards to try to better know herself from the title track onward, that any questioning wisdom she can impart feels richer and a bit more earned. I really like the optimism to stare in the face of what can feel like the end times on Human, and then realize that feeling is true for everyone, always has been, and hope matters more, like on the small town queer reminiscence of No One Knows Us, or the fury at the perversion of norms and law on Church and State. I like how she's coming to see her children more as their own people on You Without Me, even if it's a struggle. And of course, the songs about her wife in A Woman Overseas, Anniversary, and A Long Goodbye. Now, these tracks have prompted some unfounded rumors about potentially divorce, which is not only untrue and was openly dismissed by the couple, but I also think it's a poor reading of all three songs, which were all great in their own right. The first is this stunningly layered picture of an old flame where the tragedy comes in how said person can never let people into their witching hour. Might be a little self-critical there too, that's interesting. The second on how one grows and ages into the relationship where the anniversary becomes just another day. But the final song a more direct, lived-in love song with a tasteful Indigo Girls reference and the blur of snapshots of life and what-ifs that had to fall their way to hold on to each other and towards that inevitable at the very end, where the finality is more the excuse to savor it all the more. In short, Look, Brandi Carlile's a really good writer and a potent performer. I like her dogged optimism and the wide-angle maturity, but I gotta be honest, this album feels like a step back into some questionable habits for me musically. Part of it's the choice of producers who do not flatter her enough. As much as I like everyone here, I think the twinkling, soft-focus atmospherics have really become the modern, adult contemporary backdrop, blunting the impact of more interesting artists, especially when it's not an easy or obvious fit. But it's also the sort of eminently tasteful and respectable listen that yearns to swing bigger and strangely doesn't. And it's not like Carlisle hasn't made music near this territory before, but here it feels tangibly safe, playing to very nice industry standards, a legacy act pivot where I know there's more firepower in the tank. You're still gonna get a lot of really good music, but when you're a member of the Highwomen with far stronger albums to your name, I was hoping for greatness. I hope the next return actually gets there. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching. If you want to see more, please be sure to like, share, drop comments, subscribe. Yeah, I know this review's coming across a bit more negative than I want it to be. Listen, it's a good album. I think Brandi Carlile did deliver. It's just, you set yourself high standards when you have By the Way I Forgive You and the album from 2021. Look, and oh hell, even the self-titled Highwomen album, which was spectacular and does not get enough acclaim to this day. It's frustrating because I really wanted to love this more, and just I feel like there's elements that feel a little too safe. If it wasn't outside the Grammy window, I'd say it was a very obvious frontrunner. But hey, beyond that, anything else I might be able to do to improve my presentation, I'm all ears. Make sure you leave your comments down there below. Have fun with that. But beyond that, anything else, and hey, if you want to help support the channel or get albums onto my schedule or just yell at me on my Discord, link to my Patreon and YouTube memberships is right over there. Don't feel obligated. Tough times out there. Fairly certain a recession is coming. Brace yourselves. But hey, options available. Till then, I'm Mark. You're watching Spectrum Pulse, and I'll see you next time.